And welcome everyone to another installment of the Intentional Success webinar series. Today, we're going to talk about what am I supposed to do on social media for my business. We're going to talk about how to post professionally and intentionally. So there's no point in posting unless we know what we're posting for, what we're trying to accomplish. And I'm going to go over the marketing viewpoint on how you use social media. Now, I can't dictate how you use it personally. I always urge caution in that, but we can talk about and we can control what we do on the business side of it. So for those of you who are new to the webinar, I'm Tom Stimson. I'm a business consultant. I work exclusively with owners and management teams to help improve their business. Let's grow, let's make some money. I kind of like to have fun doing it. It's all about the strategic thinking aspect of this. Let's engineer what we want to happen based on what we think will happen. And I've been very successful at it. So if that's something that's of value to you, please reach out. Let's have a conversation and we'll take a look at your situation. So I am naturally rather excited about this particular topic. One, because it came out of a question from one of the readers of my book, which I will probably mention several times during the webinar. But in that book, as we talk about building the demand funnel and we talk about social media, somebody said, tell me, what specifically do I post and what's supposed to happen afterwards? And I started thinking about it and going, well, these are great questions. This would have been a great chapter in the book. But I didn't write that chapter. So I'm going to deliver that chapter to you here and now, with the caveat that experience is a good teacher, but it doesn't always teach you the right lessons. So I want to talk a little bit about if you use social media correctly for the right outcomes, you're going to get the results that you want. But sometimes we use social media and good things happen and we think what we did on social media made it happen. You remember that one time you posted something on LinkedIn and that led to someone hiring you? What if you had posted the right thing? Would it have led to 10 people hiring you? And that's the question you should always be asking. You know, the idea that social media is somehow directly tied to revenue is a myth. And I'm going to try and dispel it as we talk today, but just let me assure you, it's a myth that was created by marketing people who actually know better. And the reason they created that myth so that you would let them do their job, right? You know, making the promise that social media postings is going to lead to revenue is the only way they can get permission to promote your brand, create awareness for your brand, and drive people into your funnel without having to over-explain it to you. You know, I was in a meeting one time with the CEO and the owner and the marketing person. And the CEO commented that we've posted 3 things on LinkedIn and we haven't made one sale. And, you know, we all had to bite our tongue a little bit and say, you know, there is no magic buy button on Facebook unless you are selling consumer products or software subscriptions where you pay for ad space. You can quickly get to the app page, buy your app, download it, order online, whatever it is. We're not in that business. So our social media platforms are not where we are going to conduct sales. But we're not going to talk about that for a minute because I know what you really want to hear. And many of you have asked me if I was going to do the update this month. And of course I am. Here we are. This week is a milestone. Remember what we were doing a year ago? Remember what that webinar was like? I'm not going to do that webinar again. I'm not going to tell you that your life is going to suck for an indeterminate amount of time, much farther in the future than you ever thought it would. And I was still off by, you know, a year. But I am going to give you a pandemic business update because here we are a year later. We are kind of at a turning point. There's an inflection point that we're in right now. Things are starting to change and develop a little bit. Our markets are behaving a little bit differently and they're anticipating opening up again. So what does that mean? What are we seeing? So I thought this would be a great time to share some of that with you. And I hope this is valuable to you too. I'm going to start with my predictions, and then I'm going to tell you how I get there, because people often wonder, what do you do? What's your process for coming up with these things? Well, first of all, my predictions. Q2, right? Q2 projects are going to be kind of waffly. A lot of folks may have booked in-person events and they're going to switch back to streaming. Your streaming events may be wondering if they can hold off and have an in-person event later on in the year. It's going to be a little wonky because there's uncertainty in the marketplace. And whenever there's uncertainty, our business gets a little bit tenuous. So bear with it. You know, we weren't expecting a great Q2. And so just ride this out. There's going to be some good business. It's not going to come the way you want it to come. It's not even going to look like the past 9 months. Okay. But we will get through this quarter. Remember, the market always reacts poorly to uncertainty, and we are still in uncertain times. But the future is looking more promising, and that affects our strategic planning, which brings me to Q3. So Q3 is going to have a slow start. It's the middle of the summer, but as Q4 starts to fill up, some events are going to push back or pull in to Q3 because they want to get the meeting done this year. They're going to have trouble booking venue space. They're going to have trouble finding capacity in Q4. Those meetings are going to move up. So Q3 is going to start slowly, but I think you'll see more and more stuff start to fill in as we get closer to the beginning of Q3. Is it going to change your life? No, probably not. But it's certainly going to look a lot better than last year's Q3. So fair amount of uncertainty. Remember, exercise deposit options, right? You know, when somebody books an in-person event and then they want to go to a streaming event and then they delay the time, but they've already given you money, you know, you're taking and keeping some of that deposit every time and carrying a little bit forward. So just remember that. Q4, it can't come soon enough. We will see the first major hybrid events that people have heard of that are not one-offs or obscure one-time events. We're going to start seeing major events that are hybrid in Q4 on a more regular basis. There's still going to be social distancing. We're still going to see masks. A lot of the precautions are still going to be there, but a hybrid event where we have a large in-person audience and a large streaming audience, and they are both equally important. And that's going to be fun because we're producing 2 shows. It's great. We've got a broadcast feed. We've got the ballroom feed, you know, lots of fun in doing these projects, but we'll start to see those in Q4. And the travel is going to ramp up, right? So we're already seeing travel start to ramp up for the summer as people get vaccines. They want to go on vacation, go see grandma, go see their friends, go do whatever. That will quickly move into the corporate and association sector because travel will be more acceptable. So as travel becomes more acceptable, the travel costs are going to increase. I've been checking travel prices, and right now I've seen only pre-pandemic pricing for travel, for airline tickets. Why? Because the airlines, as demand decreased, and they decreased their capacity so that they could keep their price the same. I think airlines and hotels are particularly fearful of having a huge fluctuation in the pricing strategy. They will add more capacity as we open up to keep those pricing levels intact. So Q4, major hybrid events, lots of business going on. It'll feel more like the old times, but our shows are going to look different. And then 2022, we're going to start strong, okay? High levels of confidence, long range bookings, more of a slow return to normal, which whatever normal is, we won't see it until 2023, but 2022 should be a pretty darn good year. Focus on pre-production in everything that you do, because that gets the client engaged with you sooner so that you'll have more insight into your pipeline. It's not just a tactic, it is a strategy. Managing content production, managing the stream, working in the pre-planning. These are very important things to get the clients to engage with us sooner. So this is what I see happening. I've not seen a lot of change in this, but I have seen increased confidence that these predictions are going to hold. The rollout of the vaccine is getting better. That's increasing confidence. It doesn't change my timeline though. So I'm just more confident that this timeline is going to hold. So how do I get about the, how do I do this? And I've got a pretty good track record at forecasting, particularly when I was, managing a sales team and managing a company's long range cash flow. I look at several things, and here's what I'm looking at so that you can look at it too through your lens, because your particular market segment, your island might work differently. But here's how you do it. I start with macro trends. Okay. I've mentioned a couple of times the acceleration of the vaccine rollout in the US. I realize it's having trouble in other places. The general increase in public optimism about visiting family and friends again. Again, this is a macro trend. Summer travel forecasts, get on a couple of newsletters, see what's happening there. Obviously, I don't even want to conflate summer travel with spring break travel because those are two different animals. But I think our summer travel forecast is going to look very good for the travel industry, and which will be good for us. Now, on the industry side, some important trends to me is the Infocom show rescheduling to October. Lots of support for that. I booked my first hotel room in over a year, just because I wanted to. I just wanted to say, I know I'm going to go to Infocom. I'm excited about it. I haven't booked my airline yet, but I wanted to move something forward about that. We're seeing an uptick in entertainment events, mostly outdoors, and obviously summer is a good time for outdoor events. That's going to be great. Outdoor sporting events are ticking up. Dave posted that their baseball stadium is allowing 50% capacity on opening day, which is a huge move forward. First major hybrid events will be in Q4. What factors are you considering when saying first hybrid? Major hybrid events, meaning it's commonplace. It happens all the time. It's not that we haven't had hybrid events. We've actually had major in-person events during the pandemic, but that's not a trend. Okay, those are outliers and those are exceptions. I think we'll see a lot more common hybrid events in Q4 that everybody in our market will experience. Another interesting trend, and several of you have called me recently in a panic because a large in-person event you had scheduled for the summer reverted back to streaming or postponed to the fall. Look, summer meetings switching back to virtual is not necessarily a bad thing. It's not a reversal of a trend. It's a continuation of a trend. If they want to save their money by not having an in-person event in an uncertain summer and push that to a later part of the year, that's all good. We're going to get that. We're going to continue getting through the summer as we have been. I don't think we're going to go backwards, but we may not rush forward. So we pay attention to that. So some of these are subjective views. There's a few objective trends that I look at. We take all of these and we kind of extrapolate the trajectory. So some of the more objective things I look at is your confirmed business, the volume of hybrid events planned for Q3 that have not canceled or modified yet, the volume of hybrid events planned for Q4 that haven't canceled yet. These are important. I'm looking at your leads, your incoming leads. If you measure those are good indicators of what's happening and how those trends are. I look at results. Many of you, because you wisely pulled back on your business, you pivoted, you did some very smart things in 2020, including take government subsidies, were able to break even in 2020, and that's fantastic. I'm having more and more conversations with business owners anxious about not being able to keep up with demand. So I've got some objective data and I got some subjective anxieties, which together tell me we're seeing a lot of inbound demand on the funnel. We're seeing movement in the funnel. Now, I take all of these things and we've got to resolve some conflicts, right? A summer event converting from a planned in-person meeting to a streaming event, we have to resolve that because it sounds like a bad thing because we're going backwards. If the only good news you will accept is that we return to a pre-pandemic economy, I can't make you happy. I'm not going to be able to do that. But when we see a summer event reverting to a streaming event, this is not a setback. It's simply a continuation of what we've been doing. And we've got to be happy about that. Okay, so that's a good thing, right? We will get back to normal. It will never happen fast enough for any of us. So my recommendations based on these views and these predictions. Number one, you need to define what your post-pandemic strategy is going to be. Are you going to embrace some elements of your pivot and continue to try and do business that way? Are you trying to get back to your old business model? I'm not going to judge you either way. It's whatever way you want to go is your decision, but make sure that we're doing the things that will get you back there in a healthy, profitable state as quickly as possible. Many of you need to get your sales processes sorted out as soon as possible. You know, your customers have changed. Your old customers may not come back. The individual buyers, that is, the people that you're dealing with now are not people you've dealt with before. What you're selling has changed. You know, we need to learn how to sell as an industry. And this is not different than what I said 15 years ago, without tying up our delivery resources. If the people who are responsible for delivering the product are also involved in selling and vice versa, you cannot grow your business. It's not that there's a hard line between the two, but I can't be selling if everybody's busy working on projects, right? So we've got to figure out how to make that sales process work better. Your delivery process has got to learn how to stand on its own. You don't want to tie up the process managers in show positions, because you always have support and delivery processes going even when there's a show going on. The idea that we send everybody out of the shop when we're busy and the shop should be empty because everybody should be on show site, again, it's a bit of a myth. It's a false economy, because you're taking away your ability to prepare and react to support new business. And oh, by the way, you're probably not selling in either. So let's get all that sorted out before we get into whatever our next normal turns out to be. And then finally, if you struggle with any of these, if you struggled with these things before the pandemic, you're certainly going to struggle with them after the pandemic. Get some help, get some advice. I'm happy to help you. You know how to find me, but go wherever it is that you need to go to get the support you need to figure this out sooner than later. So quick pause, quick segue. If you're an owner, principal of a business, you want to have a conversation about how I can help you grow and make money, this is what I do. Please reach out to me, schedule a call there, or just shoot me an email, text me, whatever it is you want to do to get a hold of me, but let's have a chat about what that looks like. Now, into the fun stuff. Let's talk about the topic of this particular webinar now that we're 19 minutes into the call. My book, I told you I'd mention it again, and here it is. It's missing a chapter, right? We know that social media is important, but we don't know what it is we're supposed to be posting. And I know that because I go on Facebook every day, whether I want to or not, but I see what you're posting, and I'm frustrated for you. We don't know any better. And I'm going to try and fill that gap a little bit, because I think it'll make a huge improvement in whether or not you participate in social media. So if you're going to participate in social media as a business, let me explain to you how you would do it intentionally with a purpose that will eventually lead to a conversation with a potential customer. I won't say that it's going to lead to sold business, but it will put you in front of better qualified prospects if you do it correctly. Okay. Now, last month, I talked about this graphic here. So hopefully it's a little bit familiar. Social media, where does it fit in? It focuses on early stage leads. These are people who are just becoming aware of their problem and starting to develop an interest in a solution. These are what we call top of funnel people. Social media is not really well designed to better engage your customers and people who have already done business with you, but it doesn't necessarily hurt that either. If we're going to use it to develop business, we need to focus on the people we're not doing business with right now. Now, what we can do with social media, as in all marketing, is position ourselves as credible thought leaders on something. You are an expert in something. Now, it doesn't mean there aren't better experts than you, but that's not the point. I've talked about this in other webinars. You have an expertise, and it may be regional, it may be local, it may be, you're the only company on this street that knows how to do streaming, therefore you're an expert in streaming on this block. Find the thing that you are a credible thought leader in and build on that. Give the viewer, the person who sees you in their feed, an opportunity to learn more on their terms, okay? Because we're on social media, it's going to be on their terms and not our terms. But let's give them something that they can bite into. Here's what I see too often, and this is what we're trying to solve today, is these dead-end posts. A dead-end post is the picture of, here's a cool thing we did. There's no call to action, there's no engagement, there's no way, we're not even putting something out there to help for the customer to learn more. We're just assuming that if they want to learn more, they'll click on the company profile, they'll find the website, they'll go to the website, they'll find the contact me page, and they'll fill out the 17 questions that you ask in order to send in an email. We want to get rid of all of that. Okay, that is not a frictionless way to engage leads. So we don't want social dead ends. Here's the cool thing we did. Here's cake day at the office. Though these things do have value, but we need to make them valuable. Okay, and I will talk about how to do that. And my favorite one, I've seen several companies lately who I don't view as active social media players suddenly become active on social media, and every single post they've made is a link to somebody else's website. There are better ways to do that as well. So let's get out of this social dead end. We want people to click on something that we post on social media and bring them closer to us. So some truths about social media, okay? No one is making a business decision on who to hire based on social media. They will make a decision on who not to hire based on social media, but they're not making buying decisions there. Okay. You as an individual or as a company do not own your audience on social media. It belongs to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, pick your flavor. Remember, if you're not paying for the service, okay, you're the product. So Facebook owns the people who see your posts. They own your friends. They determine whether or not you have access to them. So you can't freely access your audience. You don't own them. You can't even download them. Okay. We need to get people off of social media. And here's how we do it. Likes and shares don't help. You can post something that's brilliant. You can get 100 people to like it. That doesn't move anything forward. Okay. If it does, it's an accident. It's a happy accident. Take it, do the job. But that's not how you're going to build a business. Social followers are not leads. Okay. Growing followers is not your goal. It's not, I'm not going to go, as a marketing manager, I don't want to walk into the meeting and say, hey, we've grown our social following by 50%. And then the CEO, the sales manager is going, yeah, but we haven't gotten a single lead out of it. Okay. That's the very uncomfortable conversation. The objective is to get people off of social media into your sales funnel. Here's what we talked about last month, okay? We talked about what our primary functions are when we're in the funnel. We're at the top of the funnel. We're trying to attract people into it. Once they're in there, we want to get them to engage in some fashion, which is where we're going to spend the rest of today. Eventually, we want to invite them into some kind of a conversation, which is the middle of the funnel, where we start getting that human to human interaction so that we have something that we can convert, close, a piece of business to close, which pulls them into the bottom of the funnel. So we're focusing on how to get some movement in the top of the funnel. First and foremost, we want to be discoverable. Okay, we have to be found on social media. You have to be relevant, you have to be credible, and you have to look good, because you don't want to be found and not look good. So if we're going to go to the trouble to be discoverable, let's clean up our image. Let's use better quality graphics, better quality photography when we're posting on social media. There's a reason that people go to design school and graphic school to make these things look good. So if we're discoverable, then at the top of the funnel, we want to make people aware and generate interest. We want them to understand, their situation and how you might be relevant to them so that we can move them forward a little bit. We want calls to action, CTAs. We want people to get the opportunity to learn more about the thing you just made them aware of. Okay. And eventually opt in, which is they reveal their contact information to you so that they are now technically a lead for the first time. We have to get them off of social media for this to happen. Now, in the middle of the funnel, we're going to continue to reach out to these people who are in our leads. We're going to share valuable knowledge. We're going to get them to engage at deeper and deeper levels, attend events, join us on a webinar, download an entry point offer or a lead magnet, sign up to have a conversation to talk about their project or their situation, do an assessment for them of their event or their installation. Okay. We're going to share some valuable knowledge so that we bring them closer and closer to talking about the project, which may not even exist yet. So the whole idea of using social media to get to a sale is flawed because a sale doesn't exist 90% of the time. There's not a sale to be made. There's a relationship to evolve so that when there's a sale to be made, we already have that great relationship. Now, as we try and move people into the bottom of the funnel and we close business, we create movement by highlighting our differentiators, and we can make that call to action to actually do business together. Let's do this. Let's get this done. And we target our messages to the people that we're talking to. We're talking to somebody who's at the middle of the funnel and we want to move them into the bottom. I can have a message for them. Okay. It can actually be on social media. It can be seen by people who are at the top of your funnel. And if it's executed correctly, it will still work. It will do the good that you want it to do. It'll help train the people at the top of the funnel what your relationship with people at the bottom of your funnel is really like, which helps them see themselves doing business with you, which is exciting in what we're trying to get done. Now, the goal of your top of your funnel is to stay connected, right? We want to either be attractive enough that they return to your social page, they follow you. Eventually, we do want to get them to follow you from your website. The goal, of course, is to get an email address and permission to send them something that's even more useful than what you have shared already. To do all of this, we need to put energy into all levels of your funnel. We want that movement to work all the way through, because I don't want to move them out of one part of your funnel into the next and all of a sudden have communication stop, right? Now, why use social media at all? And this is a perfectly good question. And one you should ask the team. Why use social media at all? Here are my reasons for doing that. One, it's going to create awareness. Okay, I want to expose issues and offer solutions to my audience, and get them to understand that there are things out there that they need to know more about that should affect their decision making. At the same time, I want to elevate my brand. Okay, I want to be a company that people want to associate with. And thirdly, I want to get them off of social media and onto my website, where we can have some real impact if we manage our website properly from a sales marketing funnel standpoint. So social media is a great way to bring people into your website. It's far more effective than using SEO as a small company to try to get people to your website. Social media has a much bigger audience and is more direct and more effective in doing that. But what you share needs to have a higher purpose. It is okay to share a picture of Cake Day. Matter of fact, that's one of the things that we do. But what's the higher purpose of sharing? This is a really cool place to work. Would you like to work here? Your cake is waiting for you. And we can take them to a jobs page where they can learn about doing business. It can be part of a recruiting tool. Okay. There's so many things that we can do with the dead end posts that we're doing now and turn them into posts that actually move people through your funnel. So what do we share? Okay. What do we actually share on social media? I've got 3 buckets I want to talk about today. I think you need to share a nice mix of brand voices, personality, and social proof. Okay. Brand voices are, the thoughts from the founder. Here's our philosophy. Here's innovation that we believe in. These are the loftier goals and aspirations of your business. These are the things that you do better than other people and think about more than other people. And it really reflects the personality of the business. It's your brand, right? We want people to see themselves doing business with you. We've got to put the brand out there and give it a personality, give it some shape. Now, the personality of your company is a little bit different. Okay, you can have a very studious brand, but you can have a very fun personality, right? And this is when we start posting, team profiles, those tactical moments, the cake day, the work-life pictures. Here's somebody setting up. Here's somebody doing their job. And there's a lot of different ways that we can use these to help move people through the funnel. And then the third category, of course, is social proof. These are the testimonials, quotes, case studies that help other people see other people like them who have done business with you. So this is when we want to put voices outside of our organization in front of our potential followers, hopefully to become leads. So that's where we use these things. I never want to post a testimonial without giving a call to action that allows somebody to click through and gain some valuable knowledge, insight, tools, or assessment that will help them see why this other company or other person chose you, so that they have an opportunity to make that decision as well. So let's take you through some examples. I'm going to start off with a brand voice. And all of your brands have voices. And I think if you were better at recognizing them and putting some energy into them, I think it's some very positive voices as well. Here's an example of a post. Our founder, William Chandler, makes sure we remain dedicated to the idea that every customer has a story to tell, and we can help them say it better. Listen to his remarks when he recently received another Addy Award. Link to a landing page. Not an embedded video, not something that we're going to make them watch on Facebook. We're going to take them someplace more useful for moving them through the funnel. If they're interested in what the founder of your business has to say about storytelling, because storytelling is important to them, then they will follow through. If they're not interested, they won't follow through, and that's fine. We don't care about the ones that don't follow through. We're only targeting the people that think brand stories are interesting. Okay, those other people may be interested in something else that you post. So if we click through to the landing page, which is on your website, and this is a template. This is not a beautiful rendition. And thank you, Vince Collins, if you're on the call, for letting me use your photograph. I didn't ask you, but I had it. So we have a headline on your landing page. This is a page on your website, not a blog post. This is an actual page with a dedicated address, named address that you can link, that you can send people to. It's not necessarily in the menu system for your main website. Matter of fact, generally landing pages you can only access with the link, and it's only available to the people that you provide it to. So in a call to action, we often send people to a landing page. We have a headline, we have a subheadline. They have different functions. Sometimes you can reverse them, but very often you can't. So work with a company that understands stories. Company founder shares the pivotal event that changed his career. Oh, well, wait a minute. That's an even better story than the story you alluded to earlier, right? So we're pulling them into our copy. And in the most basic format of this, we're going to do a little copy. We're going to lead them to the embedded video that they can watch here on this page. Give them a little bit more copy that leads into the call to action, right? And something else that they can go to. Now, download Vince's Storyteller's Guide, okay, is a lead magnet. If I click on this link, I'm going to fill out a form, and then I'm going to get an email with a link to the PDF that I can download. And now I'm going to be on the mailing list. Okay. We've now taken them off of social media. We've put them as a lead into your sales funnel. Here's what that looks like. You've seen this in previous webinars. So we have that link that takes us to an order opt-in page. Okay. We fill out that form. We get an email that delivers the entry point offer or the download. So they download that PDF. Okay. And now they're going to get an email sequence that onboards them into your mailing list. Okay. And I know some of you are freaking out going, oh my God, we're going to spam them with emails. No, we're not spamming them. One, they agreed to this. Two, we told them on the webpage, hey, if you sign up for this, we're going to send you our newsletter and some other valuable things. You're willing to opt out at any time. It's completely up to you. But the fact of the matter is I've captured them and now I can market to them if I want to. I have nothing else. I can reach out to them and try and have a conversation. But what I want to do is train them how to open up my emails. So I'm going to send them 3 to 6 very useful emails, some of which might actually give them another lead magnet or another tool or up their offer. All of them are trying to lead to getting them to do the next thing that you want them to do, which is probably have a conversation with you. So if an introductory conversation is how you get business done, I want these emails to lead to that call to action to try and get that. And if we get 100 people to download this, are we going to get 100 conversations? No. You should be thrilled if you get 5. But you got 100 people off of social media into your funnel, and you had 5 that were willing to talk to you now. And that would be a huge, huge return of not just warm leads. These are pretty hot leads. They may not have a project in their hand, okay, but it is your chance to create somebody who will bring a project to you earlier in the process and then after the project is fully vetted. So this is a wonderful way to get better leads into your system. Now, we use different calls to action to get different results. There's a whole chapter in my book on calls to action. You know, if I do a blog post and if I share a blog post on LinkedIn and somebody goes to read it on my website, I might put a call to action in there to download a tool that is somehow tied to what the blog post was about. Because obviously, if they're looking at a blog post, they're interested in the topic. So I want to offer them something that's also somehow related to the topic, or something that somebody who would be interested in that topic would also be interested in. I might offer a webinar or something on that topic. So getting them to see my blog post on my website is not enough. I need to capture them. So I've got to offer something else, right? Job postings. Many of you ask me, how do you recruit people? This is how you do it. The people you want to hire are probably on social media. So why don't you create a social media sequence that talks about how cool it is to work with you, you know, what's special and unique about your business or the type of work that you do, to pull people into learning more about what it's like to work with you and what job listings you have, that pulls them into a process for filtering out the unqualified candidates, right? It's awesome, right? There's so many things we can do using digital marketing to try and drive the results we're trying to get. If I'm making an announcement about an upcoming event or something that they can attend, which is a physical action, I might offer a call to action to schedule a tour. Many of you have studio facilities you're trying to promote. The best way to promote them is schedule a tour, okay? You could also simply have a virtual tour. In a call earlier today with a client, we described 3 kinds of tours that should be in their sales funnel. One is a virtual tour that the business development person can walk them through while they're on a Zoom call. A second is the walking tour in the facility where they're guided through the facility to see the backstage and see how things work, meet a couple of people. And the third is the branded tour, where we take our guest's brand and we spread it over everything. We light up the entire studio and we do a little dog and pony show for them, put a lot of effort into it. So there's lots of things that you can do once you get them into your funnel. So we talked about brand voices. Let's talk a little bit about personality. So here's a personality post. It would have been better if I had a backstage picture looking over the monitor engineer's shoulder, the guy managing wireless mics. The only thing better than being a star is to be the technical team behind them. If your talents are more backstage than on stage, we're hiring. Learn more. We take them to the landing page. Okay, we tell them what it's like. Here's what we're like to work with. Here's who we're looking for. Here's what you should be like. And if you think that you might fit all of this, click here and we'll take them through a process that screens them and eventually gets them an interview. And then social proof. There's lots of different kinds of social proof, but what we mostly know, we're all familiar with, are testimonials, whether it's a video recording or a quote that comes from a client or a colleague. And these are great for social media because I can put them in a infographic of some sort and post it on there. And then I've got to tell them why it's there. So I tell my social media audience why this testimonial is there, because I'm offering you a chance to meet the team and hear the story of the event that almost didn't happen. So let's give it a little bit of a zing. Let's give them something that makes it a little bit mysterious and interesting. Get them to the landing page so they can learn more. We can tease them into that conversation. Maybe share a lead magnet with them, set them up for an online capabilities pitch, any one of a number of things that you want them to do next, as long as we get them to opt in, right? So I'm at the point where I'm straight answering some questions here, but what are the types of posts that you can do? I mentioned infographics, an image with a quote, with a saying, with a statistic, something that's going to grab their eye. High quality graphics. Don't create your own, buy them. You can buy stock graphics that are very, very good, and then just add text to them. At work pics, relatable at work pics with real people are always good. Project pics. If you do a project pics, I always like to do it from the client point of view. Consider, rather than showing the view of the client standing on the stage, take the photograph over the client's shoulder and of what they're seeing. That's way more sexy and interesting to people who are looking for the right partner to work with on their studio event, for instance. Quotes and blurbs about your business are good. They don't have to be a testimonial from a client. They could be partners. They could, lots of your Yelp reviews, right? Client or employee testimonials are also great. So what is it like to work here? Remember, everything is going to link to your website. So get the follower to your landing page. When they're there, delight them with some helpful content and offer more in exchange for their email. I've got this great thing you could download. It's more on this topic. You're going to love it. Just opt in, give me your email address, and we're off and running. They're now on your mailing list. I can now send some onboarding emails to better help them understand how they can learn more about us, how we can help them, how this process works, what do they need to do next, and when do they want to do it, and educate them about that. So I'm going to answer some questions now, but I'm going to quickly mention a couple of things. I don't have a ton of marketing stuff to talk about today, so we'll have plenty of time for any questions that you have. Yes, of course, the webinar is always recorded. You always get an email several hours the same day after the event with the link to where to watch that archive. I've been doing webinars for probably 12, 13 years now, and I think we've never not posted a recording. So you will have that. The book demand on Amazon, please get your physical copy or your ebook copy, whatever suits you. I love it when people buy them for their teams. Trust me, nobody's getting rich selling books on Amazon. I just like the fact that people are consuming it together and having very valuable conversations about how they're going to promote their business to get that done. So again, if you're ready to grow and make some money, if you're ready to have best practices questions answered, if you're ready to sort out your long-term strategy, if you're ready to be held accountable for getting the work done you need to do, to make the decisions, are the decisions you need to make, reach out. This is what I do. I'm very good at it, and you deserve to move forward in whatever way you want to go, and I'm there to help you for that. So reach out for that. Next month's webinar. Thank you. Keep the questions coming. Next webinar, we're going to talk about what we should have learned during the do-over. I remember I think it was in probably May of last year that I realized that we were in a do-over. We were getting at the opportunity while our businesses were knocked to their knees to redesign everything we've ever done for the post-pandemic period. Now, little did we know then how long and far away that post-pandemic period would be, but it hasn't changed the fact that we're in a do-over. And many of you have done a makeover on your business, and now you're trying to figure out what you need to do next as demand increases and your capacity is limited. How are you going to grow into this? Because you've never grown into a pivot before. But even if you go back to your old business, how do you rebuild it and bypass the mistakes that you've made in the past? So I want to talk about that a little bit. And of course, that's something that I'm working with on most of my coaching clients. So summary, quickly, social media, elevate your brand, get the right people to your website, add qualified leads to your sales funnel. What more can you ask for? This is what you're supposed to do on social media. This is what it's for. Let's figure out how to use it and use it effectively so that it will support our company instead of suck up our time. So thanks for listening to all that. All right. I'm going to answer some questions. I see a few coming in here. Thank you for that. And in order to do that, let me get rid of the share and you can just look at my ugly face for now. I love your questions. Keep them coming in here. Let's see what we got. We've talked about access to the webinar. Email automation process program are you using? Man, there's a bonus chapter to my book that I just might share with you guys about what are some of the automation tools out there. I use a tool that is probably a little bit more obscure than what you're seeing. Some of you use automation systems like MailChimp or HubSpot, which can be a comprehensive product. I happen to use a product called Drip. My marketing machine is segmented into different chunks. It's not an all-in-one system, but for me, it works as an all-in-one system because of the way we have things connected and automated. But lots of good options out there. Another comment here, we sometimes repost an article that with comment that solidifies our thought, policy, or personality. How do you recommend going about that without sending them to someone else? All right, so here's how you, great question, fantastic question. Here's how you repost somebody else's awesome content. In your social media post, you post the lead in to that. What I typically do is I will take a photograph of what it would look like if that post were there on Facebook, for instance. And instead, the post is going to take them to a landing page on my website where I will share that article with them, where they can leave and go to that article, or I can embed that article into my website. I want to get them to a landing page, and I want to preface it with, we think this article is fantastic. Here are the things we agree with. Here's why we think it's important. Here's what we hope you'll get out of it. And we'd like to thank our partners for sharing this information. And you share the article, and then afterwards you say, we have a lot of great philosophies that I think you would be interested in. If you want to learn more about our business, go to this page, send them to your About page. On your About page is a call to action to sign up for the mailing list, have a conversation, whatever it is that you want them to do next. So the trick is get them off of social media, get the shared content on your website where you have the control over the messaging. So great question there. I had a social media question. I have a social media question about what about employees who post inappropriate things on their personal pages, but they also post work-related things on their personal pages, so we know they work for them. So good question, a little out of the scope of this conversation, a little bit more of an HR topic, which I recommend you talk to an HR person about. However, I would say in general, we want to have some company policies, employee handbook, recognize that if you're going to post business stuff on your personal social pages, that your other posts are going to reflect upon you in your business life. We see this happen in society. It's unfortunate. People say something stupid on Twitter, and all of a sudden they lost their job because they also use Twitter to promote their professional life. So help employees understand that there's a line between these two things. When we were asked this sort of question 10 years ago, my answer was always have two profiles. I've got a professional profile, I've got a personal profile, and never the two shall meet. Help them through that. There is probably a better answer from a legal standpoint about what you have control over. But we all know that if our behavior is reflecting on our business adversely, that can be a problem that can affect your employment. Another question here about who should the post be for? Okay, this is more about what part of our mailing list do we send it to? All right, I'm going to bifurcate this into two different questions here. Who should the post be for? When you create a post, you need to always have your target person in mind, not your target audience. I've talked about this before. When you're creating content, you always create it for a person. When I write a blog post, I am literally picturing one of you, somebody that I know, a situation I'm aware of that I think this article applies to, and I write it to that person. If I write a blog post or if I write a social media post, I am writing it to a person. I'm picturing them because that increases the chance that the right kind of person is going to click through and go where I want to go. So think about the profile of the people that you're trying to attract. And that becomes important. Now, when it comes to the other half of the question, which is about mailing lists, who do we send to on our mailing lists? Do not over segment your mailing lists. I know that it makes sense if you're using Salesforce or any other CRM, it gives you a million opportunities to put tags and assignations on people that will segment them and sub-segment them 100 different ways. They weren't designed for most of us. Those were designed for other industries that interact with their CRM leads differently than most of us do. When I am doing marketing, I market to my audience. Okay, it's very rare that I market to the left-handed people, or I market just to owners, or I market just to employees, or just to video people, or just audio people. And you shouldn't either. You've got event planners, you've got meeting planners, you have marketing people, you have end customers. You can market broadly, and the message that you give and the voice that you give it in will tell the viewer whether they are the target or not. And we are all perfectly capable of skipping over stuff on social media. I mean, we don't look at 90% of what's on our social media feed. We just skim right past it, right? We look for the stuff that matters to us, that speaks to us, and your target audience will do the same way. When it comes to mailing lists, the same thing happens. The mail is from the company. Not every single email is going to apply directly to that person that day, but you try and put enough stuff in your email where they can find out something they are interested in if they want to be interested in you that day. So it's too much time and energy to segment. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It doesn't mean that there aren't some benefits for it. But in the long run, if you were just doing regular digital marketing, that would be such a victory. The idea of parsing that audience into smaller and smaller bits and giving them specialized content and messages. Let's wait until we need that problem. Let's just get our marketing out there first. All right. Questions are slowing down here. Yeah, I have been doing, Tom, I have been doing webinars a long time. It was rough back in the day to get these signals out here. And I look so much better on video now than I did back then. All right, last question here. When in this process do we ask for the customer's business? All right. That's a good question. It's not, this is not a wrong question. I'm not going to reframe this. We're in a process, okay? We're trying to get that lead, that prospect to the point where we're going to have a human conversation about what it is like to work together. But sometimes that conversation is, how are we going to handle this particular project? Okay. When we're having that conversation, now we're in a very traditional sales process. We've left marketing. Okay. We're now in familiar territory, but we're in familiar territory with somebody who already sees themselves doing business with you. They've already bought into your brand. They've got the social proof to reinforce their decision, and it is now your business to lose. So I could do a whole nother webinar about how salespeople need to process that moment when it is their business to lose, that make or break business. You know, how do we ask them for their business? When do we do that? The same way you've always done, at the right time. So that's a great way of skipping around that question, but that is an answer for another day. Another one popped in, another topic here. Give me a second. Okay. So yes, you do need to be a little selective. So this question has to do with the provenance of what it is that you're posting on social media. So if you're posting an image of somebody of a show that you worked on, but you aren't the designer of the show, do you own the rights to do that? We all have those issues to sort out. The question is, what are you taking credit for when you post? If you follow the methodology that I'm talking about, where the purpose of the post is not to take credit for this beautiful stage, the talent that's on it, the lighting design, the scenery, the LED, the content on the walls. If the purpose of the post is to say, this is the type of gig we get to work on, and wouldn't it be great to work with us? Okay, then I think you have a lot more leeway about what photographs you use in what context. If it's something that needs to be attributed, always do the attribution. And if you're not sure, don't post it. Okay. Fortunately, social media, if you found the image on social media, you can repost it on social media because the ice is already broken. But exercise whatever caution is normal and appropriate in how you do business. And when in doubt, don't post it. There's lots of good things that you can post that will accomplish the same thing. So that's it for today. Thank you guys for hanging in with me. Thanks for joining me for another month. Don't hesitate to reach out if I can help you in any way. You are already registered for next month's webinar because you're registered for this month's webinar, but don't hesitate to share so that other people will sign up as well. And I will see you guys again real soon. Thanks. Bye.